The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
And good morning. Thanks for waking up with us on this finally Friday morning. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. Just days to spare, the Senate last night voted to increase the nation's debt limit. The deal will keep paychecks for the military and Social Security benefits flowing for at least the next 2 months. NBC's Chris Pallone explains how it all came together.
Disaster deferred, at least for now.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 48. The motion to concur with the amendment is agreed to.
Senate Republicans moving aside to let Democrats temporarily raise the nation's debt limit, its ability to borrow money to pay past bills.
Republicans played a dangerous and risky partisan game, and I am glad that their brinksmanship did not work.
The bill would raise the debt limit by $480 billion, enough to keep the country's bills paid until early December.
We voted. We've averted the fiscal cliff, at least for now. Thanks, everybody.
Some Republicans upset with the deal, hoping to use the debt limit fight to slow down President Biden's future spending plans.
Unfortunately, yesterday, Republicans blinked. I think that was a mistake. I think that was the wrong decision.
Congressional Democrats now turn their attention back to passing a bipartisan infrastructure bill and a much bigger spending bill with money to fight climate change and fund new social programs. President Biden will speak later today after the September jobs numbers come out. Economists predicting a slight drop in the unemployment rate, with weekly jobless claims down since last week. The White House hoping positive news can help jumpstart its agenda. The House, originally scheduled to be out of session next week, will meet Tuesday to vote on the debt limit increase. President Biden could sign it into law that night, less than a week before the default deadline. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
5:04 is our time now, and for the second time this week, another student has been arrested in connection to a social media threat at a local school. The threat was made against Tevis Junior High. Police say they arrested a 13-year-old student on Wednesday for threatening students and staff. Investigators say the teen's threat was considered not credible. This is the second arrest made this week in connection to social media threats. You may remember police arrested a 14-year-old for making threats against students and staff at Thompson Junior High. Police say other threats made against Edison Middle and Golden Valley High Schools were also not credible.
5:04 is your time now. A report of a sexual battery in Oildale yesterday afternoon forced a lockdown of the North High School campus. KCSO says it happened just before 3:45 at a business on North Chester Avenue. By the time deputies arrived, the man had left. Shortly after, deputies received a report of a man with a gun nearby. They found that man near North High and learned he was actually the husband of the business owner who'd been assaulted, and he'd left his home to search for the suspect himself. The husband was cited for not having a concealed carry license, and his gun was seized. The school locked down briefly during the search.
Now to a frightening incident in central Bakersfield, where a man allegedly held a woman hostage, set fire to an apartment, and threw burning objects at police. It all happened yesterday in a neighborhood off Golden State Avenue near F Street, just before 6 o'clock. Police say 43-year-old George Bravo vandalized a neighbor's window and was threatening people with a knife. He then allegedly grabbed a machete and barricaded himself inside an apartment with a woman, then threw knives and rocks at police. The woman escaped unharmed. Police say Bravo then lit items on fire and threw them at officers. That caused an apartment to catch fire. Bravo was eventually arrested and taken to the hospital. No one else was hurt.
A local family is asking for help after fire ripped through a duplex in Arvin. And the family blames it on an arsonist, and they say they have video proof. 17's Moses Small has more.
First responders were called to the area of Walnut Drive near East Bear Mountain Boulevard in Arvin Monday morning at about 4 for a report of a fire at a duplex. George Rosales says he woke up to the smell of smoke.
I seen that the front door of the house was on catching on fire.
That's when he yelled for everyone to wake up. He says his entire family was home.
The front house was on fire, so was the neighbors' cars caught on fire, and then they had to evacuate as well. Our family was a family of 7, and I believe they had a family of 5 or 6.
Their house was gutted.
We had no time to grab anything. We just grabbed the kids and everything that we can, just our phones, just to contact our families and stuff.
Rosales says he believes someone started this fire on purpose. Security video shows 2 people walking in front of the family's cars shortly before the blaze.
I just want to ask them, what they have against us. Why would you want to like turn on our house on fire with families in there?
Rosales says everyone escaped safely.
Just trying to find another home to stay in, and we have no vehicles, no transportation. I'm just glad my family came out safe, and both families, no one got hurt.
Moses Small, 17 News.
That fire, meantime, coming just days after another house fire that killed a disabled woman in East Bakersfield. 22-year-old Calista Thompson was killed in Saturday's fire on Laguna Street in East Bakersfield. Her family says it was a tragic end to a painful life, as Thompson suffered from epidermolysis bullosa, which makes her skin blister and peel, adding to their emotional pain the day after their daughter's car was stolen from the parking lot. The sheriff's office is investigating that theft, while County Fire is looking into the cause of the blaze. Both families have set up GoFundMe links to help with funeral costs and relocating to new homes. You can find those links on our website, kget.com.
A local fallen hero was honored this past weekend as part of a National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service. Captain Raymond Ray Figueroa was from Delano and died along with firefighter Patrick Jones in the Porterville Library fire in February 2020. The first weekend in October is designated as National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service Weekend. Firefighters who lost their lives the year prior are recognized in that ceremony. Figueroa's family was on hand for the honor this past weekend in Maryland. You can see more pictures of the service on our website, kget.com.
Education news this morning. October's National Book Month, and a local student is celebrating a book she wrote being published. Warren Junior High School 8th grader Isabella Yobo wrote An Unexpected Appearance earlier this year when she was in 7th grade with her mother, Carol Sacchi. Isabel and Carol authored the book as a means to document the experience of a global pandemic from the perspective of children. Their book's available at Amazon.com and at Russo's Books in Bakersfield. Recapping our top stories this Friday morning. With just days to spare, the Senate last night voted to increase the nation's debt limit. The bill would raise the debt limit by $480 billion, enough to keep the country's bills paid until early December. President Biden is expected to speak later today. For the second time this week, another student has been arrested in connection to a social media threat at a local school. The threat was made against Tevis Junior High. Police say they arrested a 13-year-old student. Investigators say the teen's threat was not credible. A local family is asking for your help rebuilding after a fire ripped through their duplex in Arvin. The Rosales family says they've been forced to find a new place to live, and they believe security cameras caught the people who set fire to their house. You can help the family by donating to their GoFundMe. We have a link at kget.com.
5:33 is our time now, and we may be moving rapidly towards emergency approval of COVID vaccines for children ages 5 to 11. Pfizer yesterday submitted its application for emergency use authorization for kid-sized doses of its vaccine. The pediatric shots, if approved, could help narrow the vaccination gap. NBC's Stephanie Gosk reports.
Just in time for holiday travel. That's when nearly 30 million children between the ages of 5 and 11 could become eligible for the Pfizer vaccine. The company officially asking the FDA for emergency use authorization.
I think that is amazing. I have been waiting for that for a long time.
According to Pfizer, a dose 1/3 the size of that given to adults is both safe and effective in young children.
I do think it'll make a big difference in reducing sick days, missing school, potential for hospitalizations and other complications.
The vaccine not only protects from the disease, it protects from disruptions in life, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The FDA's advisory committee is expected to meet October 26th to make a decision. Convincing some parents may be a challenge. Only 30% say they would get their children vaccinated immediately.
It's something that I would definitely like to see a lot more information.
The Pfizer announcement comes on a day when 2 new studies expose the wide-ranging impact the pandemic has had on the nation's children. A report in the medical journal JAMA found substantial and persistent declines in pediatric vaccinations for other illnesses, including measles. The biggest drop took place when COVID first hit, but numbers are rebounding slowly because of staffing shortages and health center closures. Another study done by the CDC reveals that more than 120,000 children have lost a primary caregiver from COVID. A disproportionate number, 65%, are racial or ethnic minorities.
We do not yet have a coordinated response to address the needs of those children, and the time is now to do that.
Among the risks they face, dropping out of school early, violent behavior, and depression.
This problem of being without your parent or caregiver is not something that young people or children recover from.
A reminder that ensuring protection from the virus is a priority, but rebounding from the damage done by the pandemic could be a lot harder.
Stephanie Gosk reporting. And here at home, Public Health reported another 7 people have died from COVID-19. Our death toll now stands at 1,573. 361 more infections were announced yesterday. 249 people are in the hospital. 75 are in the ICU.
A class action lawsuit has been filed against the operator of oil platforms whose pipeline leaked oil onto the shores of Huntington Beach. New video from the U.S. Coast Guard shows the section of pipe that appears to be damaged. Tens of thousands of gallons of oil spilled into the ocean after a pipeline was reported ruptured on October 3rd. Authorities believe that an anchor from a ship snagged the pipe and dragged it, bending it like a bow and creating a 13-inch split. The Bonsai Surf School in Huntington has filed a class action lawsuit against Amplify Energy, the parent company of the operators of the oil platform. The surf school says they're filing this suit to recover losses for them as well as other owner-operators who have businesses located close to the spill.
Well, the Knp Complex Fire. And we are hearing from officials that they say a tree in the Sequoia National Forest fell on them. Crews say the firefighters were seriously hurt and taken to the hospital. They're reportedly stable. The Knp Complex Fire is 11% contained and has burned more than 85,000 acres since it was sparked by lightning September 9th. All previous evacuation orders and warnings remain in place. With containment lines holding on most of the fire perimeter, officials say they're committing many resources on 3 sections where the Windy Fire is most active: the west, east, and northern sections. Favorable weather conditions are expected for this fire as well, but any participation received is not expected to be enough of a wetting rain that would significantly impact fire behavior. The Windy Fire has burned more than 97,000 acres and is 75% contained. All previous evacuation orders and warnings remain in place.
Here at home, another legal setback for the County of Kern and its hotly contested ordinance to streamline the oil and gas permitting process. Kern County Superior Court Judge Gregory Pulskamp on Wednesday ordered the county to stop issuing permits for new oil and gas drilling until the court determines whether the county's revised environmental impact report supporting the ordinance complies with California's Environmental Quality Act. Several years ago, environmental groups sued the county over its 2015 ordinance that streamlines the permitting process. They argued the ordinance failed to mitigate or adequately address impacts on air and water quality and conversion of ag land for drilling purposes. Those arguments were upheld by the 5th District Court of Appeals last year. The court ordered a halt to new permitting until the county revised the ordinance. The Board of Supervisors approved the revised ordinance last year and Kern resumed permitting. But opponents argued the county jumped the gun, that the court hadn't yet determined if the ordinance was legally valid, and Judge Pulskamp agreed. A hearing is set for next April to determine if new ordinance complies with CEQA. And until then, for at least the next 7 months, no new oil and gas permits can be issued.
In your 17 Core Watch, new developments in the case of a man accused of murdering a local teen. A Kern County grand jury yesterday issued an indictment against Armando Cruz, and an arraignment hearing has been scheduled. Armando Cruz is accused of kidnapping, raping, and killing Patricia Alatorre last year, along with other charges. The indictment means the preliminary hearing can be skipped and a trial date can be set. Cruz is due back in court next Thursday at 3 p.m.
Meantime, the woman who allegedly shot and killed her husband during another possible domestic violence situation is due in court today. According to Bakersfield police reports, 38-year-old Cecilia Rios shot her husband inside the home on Diggs Lane in South Bakersfield, northeast of Pumpkin Center. A neighbor's security footage shows her wounded husband, 37-year-old Artemio Rios Garcia, getting into a car. Neighbors say his son took him to the hospital, where the gunshot victim died. Police are still investigating if the shooting was spurred by domestic violence. Rios was arrested on suspicion of murder.
A jury yesterday declined to recommend the death penalty and instead recommended life without parole for a man convicted of murdering a father and son during a gas station robbery in 2016. Darnell Hammond and Jim Langston were found guilty of 2 counts of murder in the robbery at Quality Gas Station in Lamont, where they killed owners Heriberto Aceves and his adult son Juan. Hammond, 27, who prosecutors say fired the deadly shots, was being considered for the death penalty before the jury's decision. But jurors opted instead for consideration of life without parole. Langston, who never faced a possible death penalty, is due for sentencing October 20th. Hammond is set to be sentenced November 5th.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.